I love that. Reminds me of the White Sox the past couple of years.
It's called the Winfield Plan Commission order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Androwinski,
Present.
Mark Nelson,
Here.
Tim Clayton,
Present.
Dave Anderson,
Yep.
Joe Gacy,
Here.
Jim Hajic,
Present.
Bill Metzger,
Here.
Mike Duffy,
Here.
Sean Finney,
Here.
Ryan Dwightmeyer,
Here.
Deborah Gritters, present, Nick Beller.
Here. Thank you. You have the minutes in front of you for the meeting of June 12th, 2025. Hopefully you've had a moment to reflect and make comments if needed. If not, I'll entertain a motion. Do not see the minutes?
I do not see them.
I'm sorry, did I not look at your packet?
Yeah, got my minutes.
Do you have your minutes?
You guys have the minutes in front of you?
No.
I do not have them.
Do you want to defer this to the next meeting?
Who's everybody looking at me? What?
Is it okay if we defer these to the next meeting?
You can defer them if you guys haven't seen them, haven't looked at them.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to defer the minutes if so be.
I'll make that motion.
There's a motion by Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Phil. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Moving on to old business, public hearing and recommendation to the town council. This is an update to the town code, chapter 153, flood damage prevention. Would this be Nick,
I can, that's fine.
please?
Sure. This is a work product of several months of collaboration with DNR and FEMA to get our floodplain development ordinance updated to the current federal standards. Just kind of briefly, some of the definitions have been changed from sort of the previous code. Some have been added or updated. Submittal requirements have also been updated because those have changed at a federal level. Also, and I think importantly, it codifies a long-time policy of sort of internally deterring floodplain development when developers come in and talk to us about projects.
Makes it concise and clear.
Yes,
Very good. Okay.
and the public hearing has been advertised properly.
It has.
You sure about that, Nick?
The first
I'm
try?
positive, I checked.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any questions? Or at this time, we will open this up to the public for public hearing. Does anyone like to speak for or against item number 1? Okay, hearing none. Close public hearing at this time. Is there any discussion among the board members or questions?
I do not.
I will entertain either a favorable or unfavorable recommendation to the town council.
Make a motion that we make a favorable recommendation to the town council for the town code chapter 153 floodplain prevention, flood damage prevention. Sorry.
Motion by Dave. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jim. Okay, second by Jim. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very well, thank you. Moving on to new business. This is a request for the public hearing, item number 1, docket PC 2025-09, zone change from Ag to R1. This is for Anthony Valera at 8401 East 101st Avenue.
Yeah.
You can just pass those out, Anthony, if you want. You pass them out. She's going to get the microphone.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you're Anthony? Yes, sir. All right. Likewise.
Thank you.
All right, the floor is yours.
First off, I want to say thank you. I've gotten some support already from Ms. Gritters and Mr. Villar over here. Kind of going on my own. I'm trying to GC a project, and the subject property is 8401 East 101st Avenue. The property is not mine yet. It's subject to the property being able to pass the town of Winfield's process for rezoning. It's currently zoned agricultural, and I'm trying to get it rezoned. It's one of my objectives here for next month, hopefully, if you guys allow. And then the second objective is to get the primary plat approval at the same time. Once I do have that, I can go back to the sellers of the property and tell them that, you know, we're moving forward with it. Pursuant to a secondary plat approval, I will go ahead and make a, you know, recommendation that we can close on the property and then continue to move forward with the construction on the property at some point. I've given you guys obviously a plat of the location. If anybody has any questions, I'll kind of open it up to you guys. The house is definitely where we want it. I don't think it's going to change at all.
So Nick, some questions on this property. So this property sits quite a bit higher than all the homes behind it in Doubletree. What is the plan to keep the rainwater from coming down the hill and coming down from both? So that property sets like, it's like this, basically. I don't know what the exact measurement is up there, but that property sets here. What's to prevent the water from coming down into those people's yards? Because it already does. And then running to the back of the other people on, what would that be, Doubletree Drive North. So what's the storm retention that we're doing, that would be done for this property?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Mecca Engineering was hired by Mr. Valera to go ahead and look at that specific issue and drainage. They have to prepare, you know, it won't be a full drainage report like a subdivision because it's one house, but they're going to come up with an executive summary drainage analysis, and that should be reflected in the grading plan.
Yeah, so I guess what happens when all those people come in and complain? Because they're all going to come in and complain. Every one of them. There's already a problem today.
Well, I think that that's got to be addressed with his grading plan. What I'm assuming that he's going to come up with, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm assuming what he'll come up with is that he'll have to come up with a swale down the property line like we normally do.
It's not a little higher, it's a lot higher. It's very steep and the water's like, and yeah, you're right
I
there.
believe that was the topsoil pile from Doubletree. I don't know if they had soil samples on, but I believe that was the spoil pile when they.
Oh, was it?
I think it was, yeah.
It doesn't matter now, that's 30 years ago.
Right, well, I know, I'm just saying, I don't know, but that's why it's so steep is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying today you have, all the houses that are surrounding it, that sit significantly higher. That water all runs down the back into all those people's yards and significantly runs down into whatever the court is, or Doubletree Drive North Court, whatever that court is, comes down that way. So that's one issue. The other issue is with the drain or with the sewer system running right through lot number 186, are we going to make them connect? I believe the lot line's within 300 feet, is it? I don't know. I'm asking.
Mike and I reviewed that in the code. The code's needs some adjustment in that respect due to conflicts in language between major and minor subdivision. This is a minor subdivision.
Yeah, but
If it were a major subdivision, it would be required.
You still have a pipe there and you're going to allow a septic?
It's really, the code is unclear. I know Mr. Valera is exploring both options currently. I don't know if he has an update on that or not.
And then the other piece is the water line runs through there too, on the east side. Because Doubletree just gave them their easement.
I believe American Water goes out on the.
The water goes, so the waste line goes over here.
185, 186.
And then the water line, any Americans pulled all their water lines and running it over here.
Okay.
So that property is Indiana American. I mean, I'm just telling you, it's within the area. I wouldn't be in favor of letting a septic in there and not connecting to Indiana American.
Well, Indiana American runs all the way down.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you got it. Yeah, you're like the third house in. I forget about that. Yeah. So
I believe Mr. Valera's already explored that and probably plans on connecting to the water.
well, what is planned and what we're being asked to vote on are different things. So
Currently, you're being asked to authorize a public hearing.
Right.
Dave, to your answer, if you look at the notes to the right, it says water and sanitary sewer service to be provided by Indiana American Water in town of Winfield.
Yeah.
And the notes all
There we
off
go.
on the right-hand side, so.
As long as, so, I mean, that's just one aspect. The bigger aspect is the stormwater, but I'm just saying I would not be in favor. Look, in town in general, we're not wanting septic fields. Anyway, that is super close to those, so to your point, Tim, yeah, it says it here, we just need to make sure that if we're gonna allow it, that we enshrine it. So yes, you wanna build, okay, great, you gotta connect. The second part, though, is the bigger part, which is the storm water, because every single one of those people living around that piece of property are going to be in here complaining.
I can briefly have the floor for 1 second to address something. Is there currently an issue right now with drainage going
Yes.
into people's backyards?
Yes,
So the burden lies on me then to correct that?
yes.
Okay.
So what Mecca should explore is like
Yeah.
a side yard swale and
Sure.
probably a small berm that takes the water and breaks it both ways.
Sure. That's something that does not have to be definitively decided upon at this point, right? Not for the rezoning and the primary plat approval, correct?
Go to the hearings? No.
Well, it's a public hearing, but the issue is, with like, if you're asking would I vote for a public hearing without seeing any of the drainage, probably not. But that's me, there's 600 people on the board.
At the public hearing, you're gonna have probably all these residents show up, and that's gonna be the same questions gonna come up there if
Sure.
it does go to that public hearing.
Everyone,
I think by that point, I think I'll have a drainage calculation figured out by Mecca at some point. They wanted to do a bunch of other stuff with that. As you guys understand, the property is not mine. I've invested over $15,000 in this property. It's not even mine. So obviously, I want to be a citizen of Winfield. I'm going out on a whim here to kind of do my due diligence, get soil samples, getting proper engineering plans, coordinating with you guys to figure this out. But I'm also not going to burden my family with, erroneous charges at the moment. I mean, that's a lot of money for us. So if I can figure this out with you guys, I'd appreciate doing that. Like I said, I'm working with Mecca Engineering to figure out those water calculations.
yeah, well, like I said, the issue you have is on the stormwater that's a big issue.
Well, if I can figure that out with Mecca Engineering, I'd be doing Doubletree a favor, which I'm not a part of. So if I can figure out a calculation that works for everybody.
Yeah, you have to figure that, right, you have to figure that out.
Sure.
So, and then the other piece, like I said, is the connection to the water, and more specifically, the wastewater. So, those are the two things that I have. But until I see the storm, at least me, till I would want to see what Mecca comes up with first, because to your point, it depends on how much money you want to spend, but again, every one of those people are going to be here going, you're crazy to let this happen unless they have some rectification. So, again, I'm only one vote.
Sounds like you should have that, have you been talking with Mecca?
By email, yeah.
Okay, so like if this were to go to a public hearing and that we should have some sort of resolution or answer by then? Does that sound?
It's up to them, but yeah.
That sounds fair, that they,
Yeah.
as long as they're doing their,
This should not be an overly burdensome thing to come up with.
okay,
Seems like there's about 45 feet even to the property. Seems like there's room to work
Yeah.
on that side, so. What's the square footage of the proposed home?
Say that one more time, sir.
Square footage of the home?
Roughly 3,650.
It's a ranch?
Yes, sir.
Driveway gonna be paved, stone, asphalt?
It's going to be concrete.
Acid
Concrete.
concrete, right, after we updated the thing, so it has to be a concrete.
a certain distance at the
It's
I would
100.
have to look at the distance, but this may qualify as asphalt on the code.
Okay. Was it 100 feet?
Yes, I understand it's either or, but I think prices have come down quite a bit on both, or at least concrete to where it makes
The
sense.
preference would always be concrete.
Yeah.
Right.
assumption.
And some other things they can do to handle the stormwater is, and we've done this out at Deer Creek specifically, had to do it, is handling the roof water. Because most of the runoff from this house is going to be coming from the roof and the gutter drains, just as long as they pitch the driveway, so it's not going towards the houses. They can manage.
All I'm saying is you better have a plan, because then everybody's gonna be in front of the stormwater board complaining that they're getting infiltration into their basement, and now the town's gonna be, there's gonna be lawsuits fly that says, hey, you approved this, you knew better, my basement.
It would be helpful if we knew the elevations of almost all these lots that we're trying to decide what the elevation should be on this.
Hey, go drive back there. I mean, just visually, you could go see it significantly higher.
Oh,
Like,
it's definitely higher.
yeah, I mean, like, when I say significantly, I think the top of that property on a 2-story house is at the top of the 2nd story.
I see 754 at the house.
Yeah, you just have to, I would say,
I think that's 34 feet.
734?
Yeah,
Sorry.
it looks like a 10-foot drop, 12 feet. Or
Yeah.
10 squint.
12 feet, come on.
you visually just have to go out and you could see it. So the water issue, the storm issue is already a problem. Throw a house on there, it might be more of a problem. But at the end of the day, if you're gonna build it, you gotta fix it.
You have something, Joe?
Yeah, I do have a question. If that's the spoils from DoubleTree, and I see that you mentioned that you're getting some soil boring here, will that meet the compaction requirements to set a foundation on it?
Yeah, according to the engineering firm, the property's good to go. That's why I invested $6,500 to try and figure that out. That was my first step. So like I said, I'm trying to do this the right way. You know, most of it is gray clay on top and underneath, so I don't know how much soil compaction there is. If that's natural hill, they couldn't tell me that. But the land is suitable for a walkout basement and a ranch to be on top.
So you're basing it on just over time, the natural compaction through time and water infiltration, will get the right compaction for this house to sit on there? I mean, will the soil borings confirm that the compaction ratio is correct for a foundation to sit on?
I'm assuming you
Should.
get soil borings done and ran compaction requirements on it to make sure that it can support foundation.
I sure did, yeah. Like I said, the only concern with the land is that once it's excavated, that, you know, a foundation, the walls should be poured relatively soon so as not to let, you know, water kind of stand on the gray clay. If not, I'll have to dig a little bit more or create runoff for that.
Yeah, I was just,
Yep.
yeah, whatever you have to take away, but I was just wondering, after time, and just the natural sediment, the way it settles, and then you put foundation on, if the compaction would be sufficient to carry the load presently versus, you know, sometime in the future, if you had some type of erosion going on there, where there's a washout and fatigues at, you know, the base of that clay, then.
Yeah, I don't have a specific answer for that, but if you give me a chance to look back at the engineering diagrams and the notes, I can provide a better answer for you. But as far as I understand, the land is suitable to build a ranch and a walkout basement.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that, just for me, it's just, you gotta connect, and then I need to see the stormwater. But
Okay. Anybody?
I'm good.
Mike, I know there's this 20-foot strip here on the east side there that's not neighbors and not Mr. Valerius here potentially. There's nothing, I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. That strip is there. Have you approached that property? Seen it?
I have. The property is in quite a bit of delinquency, and I think would benefit you guys if I was to take that along with this.
That's what I'm getting
But
at.
at this point, there's just too many moving parts. There's a bunch of trees there, which, like I said, nobody can do anything with that piece of property. I've already hired an attorney, and we're exploring, you know, an opportunity later on if this works out to go ahead and encompass that into my piece of property.
Yeah, see, otherwise it's just going to sit forever.
Yeah, I think they're back on back taxes like $3,200 or something like that since 1950s or something, 40s. It's in the land trust now.
Discrepancy in legal description probably caused it.
It was probably just something that was floating around between the properties.
Between some acreage or something goofy. So, okay. Are there any other questions?
I just want to note the basis of this request is
This is the ag.
it's currently zoned ag. It needs to be rezoned to R1 to make it buildable in the code because it's 2 acres.
And what will be the frontage when we're all said and done?
150, which is
150
the minimum.
That's minimum for R1. So we'll be conforming R1.
It's actually, it would be conforming R1.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Turn into conforming.
Well,
once we-
R1 can't have septic. There
Yes,
you
it
go.
can.
Can it?
yeah, it can.
You can on that one.
R1 can have septic and R2 can also have septic.
Yeah, the lots are
Oh,
big
really?
enough.
They're big enough.
Yes. R3 cannot.
Correct.
That's right. That's, you're right. Okay.
So, yeah, so those are my conditions.
So this is still just,
This is just a notice to go to the public hearing.
This is ag to R1, is all this is. for-
Listen, he's asking, he's spending money. I want to make sure he understands what
I
the issue
Sure.
is.
And your recommendation is that you would want a septic field? You don't-
No.
You don't want?
No, no.
Okay, we're on the same
We'd like
page.
you tied into.
Because I was about to walk out.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect.
All right,
Yeah,
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a recommendation to send this to public hearing for docket PC 2025-09, zone change ag to R1.
Okay, there's a motion by Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Phil. Any discussion at this point? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Item number 2, request for a public hearing, docket PC 2025-10, primary plat approval.
Thank you.
Hang on, don't go
Thank
too
you.
far.
We're still
Primary
here.
plat approval, Valera Estates, 1 lot, Mr. Anthony Valera, again, 8401 East 101st Avenue. And then, again, formality, this is for the primary plat approval at this time.
So a lot of the stuff I know we already talked about in there, but.
Yeah, we could just kind of
It's just a
continue.
Yeah, this is a
We
continuation
talked
of
about
your,
most of it.
yeah.
Anything
just,
to add regarding, I mean, it's just the way we gotta go about it to change the zoning.
Well, what'll happen is you'll have to notify everybody down Doubletree, and that's when it's gonna, the stormwater is all gonna come out. So if
Sure.
we approve the public hearing, you better have the stormwater all tidied up by that point.
Sure. I've already spoken to two of my west neighbors. One was Chuck Charles, and another one I think was Randy. They're excited about me moving in, so we'll see what they say about the engineering job on the drainage situation.
Yeah, the only thing definitely is making sure you have that answer for the next meeting, if this does go forward right now, having the answer for that, because I know that is the biggest thing on
Well,
people's
there'll
minds
be,
right
I
now.
already know who's coming out.
Yeah.
I already know the neighbors that'll be out there, because they've already called me.
But we're just focusing on the drainage calculations, right, just so I can, pinpoint with Mecca.
Mecca's gonna have to come back and make sure their numbers are double and triple checked. And that, not only their numbers, but that the water will not flow, because you have 2 houses that are below you, right? That would be lots, 187's empty, that'd be lot 188 and 189, that will be directly impacted. And those are like, I mean, this is that kind of steep.
Yeah.
And so that water is just gonna roll off as you make changes to the top. So you're just gonna have to make sure that that water is not gonna impact them. Because it's no different than a subdivision having to keep the water on their own property. You're gonna have to keep your water that runs off on your property. And
So that's, yes and no. They can't exacerbate the situation, but they can't wall off water that naturally flows off their property either. I mean, that's,
saying.
There's a calculation that's, I know. So I'd highly recommend if this goes through, have your engineer here to speak on behalf of the drainage.
And, yeah, back to
it would be
DLC
very,
time.
very handy if Mecca was here for your primary plan.
You don't wall it up, but you gotta make sure that it's directionally, it's going where
Sure.
the town, the engineers, and everybody say it's supposed to go. That's all.
And briefly speaking to Mecca, they've already told me that most of the water on that property actually flows from west to east. So it's already moving away from there, it just needs to be aided, just the way the land slopes.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yep.
Anything you'd like to add, Mr. Valera?
No, I just want to say thank you for the continued support and continuing opportunity to move forward. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to send this to a public hearing, docket PC 2025-10, primary plat approval, Valera Estates, 1 lot.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second?
Sure.
Second by the Sure.
Sure.
Sure. Second by Dave. Any other discussion? Or, I'm sorry, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very well. And
you.
Nick, that date would be?
Yeah, that's coming.
Should have been ready.
I can tell you here in a second. August 14th. August the 14th. Suppose the public hearing will be scheduled, and Anthony get with either Deb or just get with Deb on the notice, and we can help you.
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming out.
All right, moving on. Discussion item number 3, residential development. This is Diamond Peak Homes, vicinity of 11500 Randolph Street.
How's everybody doing?
Great.
Yep.
Good, how are you?
Doing real well.
Hopefully somebody's coming. I'm Rick Hempel with Diamond Peak Homes, 1313 White Hawk Drive, Crown Point, Indiana. So sorry that Mike couldn't be here tonight. He's the guy that you're used to seeing. But we didn't want to miss the opportunity to present the new plat, which represents the changes that you folks have asked for. Some additional 80-foot lots and 75-foot lots for the Latitude subdivision. I'm really sorry about the color coding. The printer really didn't bring it out, but if you'll notice, you'll see on the left-hand side, single family 80 by 125, and then totally at the top, you see single family. There's literally 3 different colors there, but you just can't see it too good. But those color coordinates are what's representative of the lot widths.
Do we know, I'm sorry, anything else before?
No, sir.
Do we know what the values were before, like on the 70s, the 75s? How much did they change from the last presentation? You know, right now we got 100.
Not much.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't know how much. Did we had 1 lot in the 80s, or we had 15 lots in the 85s?
I'm so sorry. I sure don't have that information for
Do
you.
you know? It doesn't look like much.
What they did was, so the previous iteration of this had only 70 and 80-foot lots. The direction they received from the Plan Commission was to add some 75-foot lots to kind of transition from 70 in the front to 80 in the back.
I mean,
That's what's reflected.
The same problems all still exist that we talked about last time.
Yeah, it's Randolph.
It's right in front of the school.
So, I mean, the lots still comparative to what we have been looking at are still small. You know, 80 by 135, all right, but the 70 by 135, which is the majority of the lots, I mean, that's over half, it's 60% of the subdivision. And then the issue you still have is Randolph. I don't know, that's just
No, I mean,
my part.
I get you. I mean, personally, I'm okay with the lot setup and size configuration. I'm good with that. I mean, obviously bigger is better, but I'm happy with what you got. But again, I think the elephant is Randolph. How are we gonna handle Randolph and traffic and the school entrance and all of that? And I'm not sure if you're privy to the traffic study or if Mike's seen it or John or anybody, but.
I'm so sorry. I'm sure not. I'm just a schlep they sent here with a
Fair enough.
If you want to know how we build houses, I can answer that question right now. No problem.
I'm good on that.
Yeah.
Well, I think at least my message is with John is, I'll just say, until Randolph's solved, until we have some kind of resolution around Randolph, because we're going to put the roundabout in. But you have the school across the street, all the traffic that's going to congest there. Again, it's the whole thing with 117th. You know, what does Randolph look like? What is it?
What would be if this got approved, when would you expect to break ground and start putting homes in? Is there a date on that?
I'm so sorry. I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry. At what point, what date would you start breaking ground, and at what point would you start building homes?
We'd like to move dirt this year, if possible. And I'm not an expert at this. Michael's better at this, but I feel like as soon as we put the machines out there, you're about 3 months before you're getting roads in. So we've got to go quick if we're going to do this. Otherwise, we're in the springtime. Because obviously, you want to get roads in before you start actually digging foundations. So we'd like to start digging foundations this year, end of this year. But you know, it depends on what this body decides.
Okay.
And Michael did mention accelerating lanes and deaccelerating lanes on Randolph. I'm not sure if...
It's not enough.
I'm sorry?
Not enough.
Oh, gotcha, okay. So that's the issue. And because I want to be able to report back to him, you know, what we've discussed tonight.
Yeah, I mean, this is nothing that he hasn't heard already.
I'm so sorry. I'm hard of hearing because I've been swinging a hammer all my life.
Yeah.
Now I'm starting to go and I didn't wear my ears.
No. It's nothing that he hasn't heard already. I mean, this is...
Understood.
He's well aware of what
Yeah.
we're requiring for the road, because that is such a major thoroughfare, because that's a lot of traffic that comes from the south.
Do we even know what we want for the road?
They need to come up with something. This is their proposal.
We're not the designer.
Yeah.
They know the roundabout.
My answer is that, yeah, we need to, they know what our standards are, where we've been going, they know what we did for their previous development requirements, but this is even a bigger road than what 117th was right there.
Well, I think they said what we did on 109th with
Yes.
Aylesworth, and we're kind of at that scale of.
But we had this discussion because of all the stuff that's going just down the way from them, you know,
Yeah.
that this all had to be talked about because there's so much more than just them going on to Randolph.
Mhm.
My question is, do we have what we think we're gonna need?
I don't know that we've seen their,
I
I
don't,
don't know, I don't know that.
We've seen nothing.
We've talked to them about the traffic study. I don't know that they've submitted anything yet. And you probably won't.
I'm sure not aware, yeah,
If
sorry.
you want, I can reach out to the engineer who I knew was supposed to be doing this and ask him if they're complete.
There needs to be a plan.
I mean, I agree with you guys, that it's on the burden's on them, but we kinda need to give them a target of something.
yeah.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
XL diesel lanes are not gonna cut it on this.
I agree with that too.
You're adding,
But again, I'm going, I
Water
don't know what we need.
Tim, the procedure that's happened is the petitioner creates a traffic study.
Right.
Then they submit their findings, and then we put it into our traffic model to see if we agree with their desires. For instance, I think you saw that on 117.
I did.
They had done it, and we put it into our model and determined that there was going to have to be more improvements to 117 than what was anticipated. That would be the same process scenario that I would see here, because otherwise, then the town is sponsoring the full study when we can get them to provide all the raw data for the model. Does that make sense?
Yep. No, it does. There's just so much going on right there.
Well, that's the-
And then we're having to make a decision whether we can or can't do something, and I don't know where the target is.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the advantages of us modeling the whole thing as we have been, because then it's not looking at it as a one-off and a one-off and a one-off and a one-off.
Agreed.
It's all being
That's exactly what I
thrown
don't
into the
want to do.
mixing pot.
That's what gets us in trouble.
Yeah.
I got just one other question, Nick, or maybe even Deb. Is there any advantage to, stub out to the west? I don't know if those are large parcels over there or anything for future thoroughfare. Do we know how big those parcels are by chance? If they could develop, if it's a 5-acre piece, maybe not. If
It's
it's,
a 10-acre farm field.
or is that,
The farm field behind,
I'm throwing out there now because
It's the same property. It's an extension of the Chandler's property.
so it's a quite a large tract.
Right.
It could be, they have a large tract of land, don't they? Is there any, through a planning's eyes, reason to possibly push this through to the west, or is it too parallel and close? I don't know. I'm not that engineer.
well, I actually had a question for them, and I know you're not going to know the answer because I don't have it in front of me either, but that 80 by 135 is going to be impacted because we have a sanitary easement that goes across the whole rear of that, along the whole west side of this property.
After that force main? Or
It's
that
the gravity sewer.
gravity sewer to the plant? Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that has an easement back there. I just can't remember how big it is, but if 135 deep, you take away the building front setback.
Yeah, I mean, this is all conceptual drawing. Obviously, no hard geometrical engineering has even occurred on this.
Well, that's why I'm just bringing
It all
up the
comes-
concept. Do we want to explore stubbing this to the west, or is that not really in the
I
town's?
recall we didn't do so with Latitude South, I guess it was called Latitude.
No, because they got the retention pond. That retention pond runs across the
There
west.
there may be some sort of topography challenge there.
Drops off.
I think you're
Because those
right.
houses up front, there is a big drop off right there, because that was the complaint.
Yeah,
from the
I'm just
resident.
bringing it up.
So maybe we should look and just explore and
Just,
see.
if you don't mind, just do it once over to see if it makes sense for the town's eyes.
Which was, I'm so sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing
See if there's a
everybody.
reason to stub out a road to the west.
That's all. Just that there's a large tract to the west. Does it make sense to do it, for future? That would
well,
be.
I think the general feedback is, it still needs to be studied more.
Drain, there's a drain that
Like
goes
you,
there.
like Nick, they need to really come in and take a look, like you take the one over for the stub to the west. Still gotta figure out 109th, Randolph, Mike's gonna take some of that on here. I don't know, I still like to see bigger lots in there, like, minimally add more to the 75, take away from the 70 instead of 109 70-foot lots. Let's add more to the 75-foot or 80, whatever. I don't know. That's to me, this is not that much different than what we saw last time. I don't know if there's been really any progress.
I guess also put in your notes that for them to look at these easements that we currently have for the sanitary sewer that goes through there, because it also goes along the whole south side of your property, which may affect the 135.
So, Nick, what is the?
I'm just texting him right now.
Commercial,
Don't forget.
the commercial up front, is that, so it's all part of this development, will that become part of the PUD or not a straight zoning, right? That'll be, I'm curious about like landscaping buffers and all that stuff down the line.
You could do the zoning however you would want. It could be, you could just zone it C3 or C2. I think that's what we did with the States of Winbrook instead of, there's really no reason to call the whole thing a PDM when there's clearly a defined residential area and a defined commercial area.
Right, so would there be, I'm assuming on the plat that we'd have defined commercial lots too. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4,
That was
whatever.
in my notes to talk about during this meeting. I was kind of hoping that Mike is
Okay.
here versus not be here. No offense, Rick.
Gotcha,
Okay.
no worries. All right, no offense taken, you guys. I'm sorry, I wish I had more information for you guys. He said, yeah, you'll be fine, just show them the
But
thing.
kind of to what you're getting at, John, I think, is we'd like to see maybe a more fleshed out, what's this commercial kind of gonna look like? What's access look like? What's circulation look like for cars that enter?
You still have all that. You still have the commercial, you still have Randolph, before we even get into the,
There's a lot of questions.
yeah.
A lot of questions.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said I think this needs to be studied more before it even gets brought up here. Because he had no idea what Randolph was gonna look, nothing.
Well, That's
We have no idea.
that's why we're at a discussion level. That's why we're here.
But to John made the point, the land use, I understand that, I can see it, we definitely got some questions on that 80-foot along the west side there, if that's actually feasible enough. The land use, the way that it is not a bad concept, but we got a lot more questions than this shows, so.
Sure, and it seems like outside of the actual plot itself. So the land use you like, and all the green spaces and things.
I wouldn't necessarily say that.
Some are okay, some aren't.
We've seen worse, that's true. But I wouldn't go that far.
I
but
had
it's-
to, it's
yeah.
definitely not a grid, that's for sure. I
Yeah.
don't really care for building a grid bit.
No.
I wouldn't go that far, but I'd say, okay, that part may be pointed in the right direction.
Okay.
The bigger issue is the traffic.
Sure.
What are you gonna do with it? And
We'll
then
do
to Tim's point about the easements and everything.
The point of
The commercial, where that
Yeah,
goes,
all that's
making sure
gotta
that there
be-
is something there, because I don't want you to build on this land and then never touch the commercial.
Yeah, all that's
And
gotta be addressed.
that is something that is it is key to it. Because I know a lot of people will come in and say, I'm just building houses, and commercial's an afterthought. That commercial corridor right there at the school, right there, is very vital for this whole area and that too, so.
Understood.
Okay. Any other, Deb?
Yes, just to capitalize on Tim's statement, again, not to be a broken record, commercial development, I know we talked about traffic studies and traffic impact, but if the intensity of the use is not well defined, then the traffic counts and the traffic reports are moot because it doesn't have accurate counts. So I think too, flushing out this whole commercial corridor would be very, very helpful for accurate traffic impact studies.
This is for my own purpose. How does one determine intensive use? Is it the style of businesses? Is it whether it's like retail or restaurant, or just for my own thought process? So when I sit down with Mike, I don't know if I'm talking out of turn here, but
Yes,
okay.
that's, based on the use, there's a trip generation, that an industry standard as far as how much traffic that's going to impact.
Gotcha.
And different types of uses and different types of commercial uses have different impacts.
Understood.
So, just kind of, just calling it a commercial outlet with no other definition to it probably isn't going to fly.
Okay.
forward, I guess is
That
what-
actually makes total sense to me, and that's something I could discuss with them tonight. So no problem at all. So if we put a Portillo's there with lines around the building, that would affect something versus a daycare where people are just, dropping off in the morning and picking back up in the afternoon.
Correct.
Understood.
Exactly.
So you're putting in a Portillo's?
That's what we just heard.
You know what? Why not? Let's just,
Be careful.
yeah, take new members right now. You guys want to invest?
Be careful.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk out of turn there.
You're fine.
Mike,
You're fine.
would it be appropriate for Michael to contact you about
Yeah.
some of those engineering questions that you had about easements and things?
Yeah, and I'd also be interested to know if they did in fact, and I'll talk to him about it, whether or not they did engage the engineer that they had reach out to me about this development.
Understood. Yeah, he'll definitely have all the answers for you on that.
Yeah. Because I did go over this development specifically with an engineer, but I'm not sure that they had been engaged at that point, so I just need to talk to him.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
So how did it feel? How did it feel?
Well, I really appreciate
Getting
it.
sent into the lion's den without any info.
I mean, last time I checked, you're all are human beings, and
Yeah.
everybody's got a job to do, so I appreciate the questions, and I'm sorry that I'm not the guy to give you the answers,
You're
or at
all
least
right.
to give you a hint of the answer. But nonetheless, I do appreciate you all letting me come up here and at least present this to you, and I think that was Michael's entire goal, was just to make sure that this is in front of you, you guys can look at this, and if there's anything else that we need to know, or if you're giving us a head nod to move to the next step, then great. But it sounds like we got some more work to do.
Got some definitely work to do.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Y'all have a good night.
You too.
Thanks.
Nick, do you have anything to add tonight? Deb,
I don't know how much of this is.
anything to add?
I think I capitalized on the whole traffic study and really well defining this commercial area. It's hard to build from planning and economic development standards in theory. You're starting with either the mole or the heart valve. And the commercial is definitely the heart valve in this whole development. Even though they're separate, they're still symbiotic, so very important.
Okay. Ryan?
She just used a big word. I can't follow up symbiotic.
Very well. Mike? Sean? Anthony? All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you very much.
Kill the mics, kill the camera.